Hi guys, welcome back to My Steps to Sobriety, the show on YouTube and as a podcast with me, your host, Stefan Neff. Today is another great day for an interview. I've got Felicia Sanders with me. Felicia Sanders is an author who has written a gorgeous little book that I want to introduce you to. And she is a woman who has got a huge heart and is sensitive out there and is trying to make this world really a bit of a better place. One little help, one little sentence, one little book each time. So Felicia, I'm so pleased to have you on my show and learn more about you and learn about your passions and let you plant so many little sunflower seeds into the lives of the people who are watching this show. Welcome.
Thank you so much for the warm welcome, Stephen. I appreciate you having me here today. I'm so excited.
Absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. What made you write the book? What made you write The Little Sunflower?
Yes, that's a great question. So, I never thought of myself to become a writer per se, but I know I have two kids of my own. One is 10 and 7. And during the pandemic, we were having such a hard time trying to explain what's happening in the world. And a lot of the books out there, a lot of the things that we were seeking, especially for kids, they were kind of like sugarcoating the truth. And it was kind of right? And they're not really addressing the emotional part of things, like you tell them to do what's the right thing to do, but we're not addressing the why behind it. And, honestly, it was just one evening that we were just like the three of us were sitting in the bed before bedtime, and we were looking for just something like a light, like something that kind of brightened our day at the end of the day, because every time we turn on the news, it's like, what else could go wrong kind of mentality. And when I try to communicate this to other moms and other people, sometimes, they were just like, well, this is just the way it is, or everybody's fighting over toilet papers. And so it becomes like, a joke in a way, but also it's not really addressing the root cause of the problems. And a lot of times that we were just kind of like trying to tackle it from a practical standpoint, like this is how social distancing will be, and this is what we're supposed to do, wearing masks and all this, which is absolutely necessary, don't get me wrong. But we never really sit down, or we don't really stress a lot of the emphasis on how are you doing, and not just like, hi, how are you, Stephen, today? How are you doing? And, as a walking, it's almost like a daily routine, but truly listen. And so what happened that evening was, we were just trying to look at our bookshelf and looking for just something funny, but something enduring at the same time. And here's two of my kids like looking at me like I have all of the greatest life answers. And and sometimes like I don't even know what to say, right?
No pressure.
No pressure.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's 10 o'clock. I'm like, no pressure at all. And so one of the things that I told my kids, like, well, my daughter actually was like, why don't you just make up things? Just make up a story for us. Just make up something.
Excellent.
And so I don't know what get me thinking about the sunflower. Honestly, I think I believe in, when you're quiet, like when you're quiet in the mind, that's like when you're, aligned with what you already know in your heart. And sometimes it's that moment of just pure silence that's like, spirituality and brilliant and just the feeling of self-love came into me. And I just kind of like tell them the story of the sunflower. And they both loved it. And they both said, Mom, you should write this into a book. And I thought, you're crazy.
Brilliant.
Right. And it was that moment that I think that seed, like going back to that seed analogy, which is why I so love, because every book that you purchase for the sunflower, a seed is planted to symbolize courage and hope. And that's like where actually the idea came about, because that night, although I thought the idea was crazy, but that seed was planted in my soul. And the next day, something on Facebook, and I'm not usually on Facebook, but another thing on Facebook was like, hey, have you ever thought about writing a book? And then it just kind of like a few things here and there, which I now call it my breadcrumbs, and I just follow that path. And I don't always know like how it actually turns out. And I never thought I was going to publish the book, but it's amazing, what life gave you when you start trusting your intuition, and when you starting to see life from a colorful perspective. It's like everything is just more magical, and then the right people comes into your life, and the rest is history.
It's so true, isn't it? But I love the way
Right?
you've just described it, because if you open yourself up and
Yeah.
really truly stop racing around like a blue-ass fly and actually just press the pause button and actually be
Right.
calm and create
Centered. Right. Mm-hmm.
exactly those opportunities for other thoughts to come into your mind, to actually
Yes.
just open the door a little bit. You might
Yep.
be amazed what the universe sends you. And
Yes.
it's lovely to hear your story from desperate mum trying to figure out what to read to the children to author
Right.
of a beautiful little book. Show us the cover. Show us so that people can
Yes.
recognize it.
So this is the final product. This is a sunflower.
Uh,
And yes, and it's so lovely, and initially we had such a great time designing and creating the sunflower, what he would be like. And that was such a classy, it was such a fun time that we had together during the pandemic,
yeah.
where everything kind of shuts down. But isn't it amazing? Because a lot of times in our life, things that feels like a pushback, or things
Yeah.
that felt like a negativity,
Mm.
but when you do look up, which is kind of like the whole summary of what this book is all about, it's like when you look up, and sometimes, as an adult, I think like sometimes we are afraid of looking up, because like, what if we don't find the light, right? What if like, if I keep doing what I'm used to, at least I don't get disappointed, right? If something were to go wrong. But when we look up, it kind of goes back to that vulnerability and
Mm.
exposing yourself to something that you don't always understand, like the unknown. But it's amazing, like when he exposes himself, and when he actually opened to the sun, and when he opens to the darkness, that's when he allow himself and free himself to be the sunflower that he's meant to be.
It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. Who did the
Thank you.
illustrations?
I'm sorry.
Who did the illustrations?
Who did the illustration? Her name is Tatiana. I can't pronounce her last name. I wouldn't butcher her name, but it's actually on the actual book. So I actually
Yeah,
put her name.
that's cool.
And yes,
That's
and
we're gonna put a link to the book down there. We put Tatiana's
yes,
real name in there because
yes,
it is their cute little drawings there, and it's
she's
just
amazing. Yes.
no, you are amazing because your mind came up with that, and the reason your mind came up with that because of the person that you are,
Oh,
empathic,
thank you. Yeah.
open, lovely, and willing to learn, willing to roll with
Yes.
the punches, willing
Yep.
to accept that the world is constantly changing and you have to adapt and make the most out of it. I mean, these
Right.
are these are the qualities of a leader. These are the qualities of a great person. Did you always
Thank
have
you.
them, or how did you develop them? How did you become who you are? I mean, you didn't wake up when you were 12
No.
and say, "I'm going to be a leader." Yep,
Of course
I'll do that.
of course I did. I woke up like this. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, exactly right. So, no, what's your story? How did you get there?
It's been a long road, and I think that's kind of what sparks me to write the book. And I'm honestly, personality wise, I'm naturally an introvert, so for me to be exposing myself, and to
Mm,
be, if I put myself in the sunflower shoe, I feel like I'm trying to look up. That is not a comfortable position for me to begin with. But I am so thankful that I meet inspirational people like you. And I think, that's kind of where energy starting to be contagious, because you feel like there's something more than just myself. If there's one person that can listen or watch this video and it can tell them, like, there's hope for you and there is light at the end of this tunnel, then I've done my job, because everybody's going through it. But to kind of answer your question, I haven't, I'm actually pretty shut off usually emotionally, and not because like I'm meant to be that way. I think it's because in like, I grew up in Indonesia originally, and I was the only child, I was the only grandchild, so I'm sort of used to being kind of on my own. I've been kind of labeled by people like, oh, you're too independent, or you're too complex, or whatever it may be. Or emotions is also another thing, and people are like, emotions is almost like a taboo thing to talk about, especially in business, because you feel like you gotta have a poker face and don't show compassion. It's all business, it's not personal. And I'm here to tell you that I'm here to change that game. I want to show people that showing compassion and showing love take more strength than being closed off. And and I think I'm just sick and done with like living in this world where not having emotions is almost like a good thing, and passive aggressive behaviors are rewarded. And it's so not only for our kids, but like, that's not healthy for our well-being. And so throughout my life, when I'm dealing with all the struggles, I really have no easy way to communicate when I do need help. And that's kind of a journey that I have to take onto my own hands, because for the longest time I felt like I was a victim. Like, I was like, oh well, I'm this labeled, I'm too emotional, or I'm not equipped to do X. And I just put so much labels and limiting beliefs on my own story that, if you ask me with the same question before, like, if you can describe Felicia in 2 words, like, what would it be? Like, I probably would have a different answer back then. And it's not my true self. It's what other people have labeled me. And so, I think it took me a long time to finally get to the point that I am here. But, it's true, like my traumatic, or my past, that I felt like, in the darkness, that's like when I felt like I truly get to know myself, my inner strength, and, what is my motive, what is my passion, and what is my life purpose. And that's truly where, I felt like I've regained my own, my inner self. That
makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. See, if you had asked me that, an actual fact, when I met my wife and she brought me home to her parents, so we had dinner together, and they asked me, what do you want to be?
Right.
Want to be and I said, the best anesthetist in the world. And there was laughter, and they loved it because I was ambitious, and I had a goal and all that. That was me in 20 years, 30 years ago. What I now would say, a man who is living a life so beautiful and joyful that yesterday becomes jealous of today. So this is my answer today.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, compared with I want to be this kind of, I don't know, this kind of
I totally understand.
Role, this kind of mask, this kind of position. Yes. I had no idea about myself. I was a broken being then. I was not such a nice guy with hindsight, but it was what it was. I was who I was then, but I have grown so much. Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah. And I grew because of the challenges and the pressures that I've seen. Like your sunflower, I have seen a lot of nights and storms and not nice weather. Bloody was scary in my life.
Right.
And I I was angry with that. I was angry about the storms. I was angry about everyone else but me. I was
Right.
so there were so many lessons to learn, and there's so many parallels to be drawn to your beautiful little book there, and actually my life. Would I describe myself as a sunflower? Definitely not. Cactus, maybe.
Oh, don't cut yourself.
Well, a thistle can have a really nice flower too. Go on. So.
Yes, that's true. That is true. A little prickly, but hey.
That's right.
It's tough on the inside.
And it's hard because we all are who we are. And I think it's beautiful when we can actually make peace with that and develop the insight to say, yes, there is this yin and yang thing where you're actually, like in your case, you call yourself an introvert, so maybe more a quieter person. But there is the other you there. This right now, I see you. That is you. That is not a mask, because you're passionate. You're coming out. You're saying yes. And you should see the passion in your eyes. So, okay, you can be an introvert, and you can have such a passion for life that it bursts out of your chest. So it's beautiful.
Absolutely. And I think that's exactly what I want, kids or parents who listen to this message is it's all about embracing both our light and shadow self. It's not about like trying to cover it up. And I think sometimes it's easier said than done because in our society, there's this reward system that we don't ever talk about, and especially in kids, right? Like if you are a certain way, you're automatically more, we even said it, like I used to be in talent management. It's like there's like a buy book of people don't talk about, but if you're more so-and-so, like you're more likely to get promoted. And, so I think we have to be careful and we have to be true to ourselves because, true success, like you said, it comes when we're in alignment with our purpose. And that's when happiness comes because we can't be our true self. And it's interesting because like in the book, The Sunflower, the first time, and this is kind of why I added in there, his whole life definition and his whole identity was built upon the sun. So when the sun was gone, and he had no idea who he was, like he lost his identity. And I think, so often we don't really talk about this because our society, almost by default, we have to build our identity based on like outside variables. What job do you have? What home do you live in? What awards do you have? And it's all good, but it has to be built on a sound foundation. If you don't know your worth within, like your outside world is going to reflect accordingly. You can only mask it for so long.
And because you're living this falseness, this house of lies, really, it might not be lies. It might just not be who you really are. So there you are. You have got this emptiness building up, and you want to fill this emptiness with something. And unfortunately, there are the quick fixes. There's the gambling. There is the promiscuous sex with everything that moves. There is the alcohol, there are the drugs, there are the eating disorders. There's so many ways how we want a quick fix, how we want to quickly solve that emptiness, even fix it. We want to fix it. We want to feel good, and we don't want to do the long, hard road of actually exploring who we are and maybe learning coping mechanisms that might be a little bit better when, plop. That took me 15 seconds. Wait a moment. Oh, there it comes. See, that took you 5 minutes to actually change your thing, rather than actually, I might rest a bit because I'm actually so exhausted and I'm actually so hungry and thirsty because I have burned the candles on two ends. Yes, I don't actually need now to get myself a drink, feel relaxed so that I can continue on that mad race. It's nuts. And I love it that you have recognized that. So, but when did you first come across that? You were obviously in management, you were in business, and business. May I
Yeah.
ask which direction? What did you do?
Yeah, so this is like a little backstory. So I've always been artistic, which is why I love creating children's book. As a kid, and this is kind of one thing that I want to tell parents, like, and anybody who's listening to this, I guess, because your passion is not an accident. A lot of times that we, or at least the way I was brought up, like if you're in certain things, that's more of a hobby. It's not really a thing that you can actually supposed to do in life. And so I used to go into this art competition and paint, not knowing, because my mom signed me up. I'm like, okay, all right, what am I supposed to do? And I would win it, and I would won the competition. And I just thought, oh, that's a coincidence.
Yeah.
And, in high school, I actually won a scholarship to become a graphic designer.
Oh.
But I was told that that was not going to be like the right path for me, because it was artsy, and I don't know how that's going to be a harder path to make a living, blah blah blah, all the society's standards. So I forgo that. And I was told, like, hey, if that's supposed to be what your calling is, you can always do it as a hobby later on. Well, what's interesting is, fast forward, I have my bachelor in computer science. I got my MBA, and I was pursuing things to become a medical informatics. And I just like to learn. So I tend to, like, I thirst over, like, finding out why things are the way it is. But I noticed, like, in 2013, I would say that's like when I start questioning things. Like, I have my second child, and I was in a place in my life where I felt like I check all the boxes. Like, I have a great job, I have a great family, and I just had my kid, and I had a good, life, so to speak. I get to travel the world. So why am I not feeling happy? And I think that's like when the aha moment for me came about. And this is kind of another thing. Like, a lot of the people, not a lot, but two of the people in my life at the time, they committed suicide out of the blue, and nobody saw it coming, including somebody that we knew that were helping us to get this house. And so it kind of hit home pretty it's pretty big deal for me, especially since I was in maternity leave. So I have a lot of time in my hand, time in my hand, meaning like the baby and me. But I have a lot of thinking time, you know what I mean? Like in the middle of the night. And I'm just like, there has to be more to life than just like this, and I felt like I was being called to do something more. I just was afraid to admit it to myself because I was comfortable where I was, but I wasn't happy. So I start seeking outside, like job. I start seeing like consulted with other people, and even at the job sites. But what they had discovered, or what they told me, was like, maybe you're just like in the wrong path, or you're in the wrong job structure, and maybe you're just like, maybe try writing a gratitude journal or something. And all that is good, but when you're in the wrong path. It's like, when you say you're a cactus and then I try to plant you by the river, you're gonna die, not because something is wrong with you. It's because the environment is not suitable for you. And I think this is kind of why I really want to get the message out to people. It's like, success is really not a one size fits all. It's so unique to who you are as a person. And so for me, going through that dark times, I would say in about 3 to 4 years, it really sparked that questions about just everything in my life, what's fake and what's a priority in my life. And truly starting to, I really did like pray a lot about this. It's like, show me so-called like the way, what is my life purpose? And I honestly felt I was lost. But the beautiful thing is, like, when you ask, you shall be given. And truly, if you open your eyes, that's like when, people will see, and you will see your true worth. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it and say it was easy, but I think this is also one of my thing, why I think, writing this book with my kids, and when they want life answered, like my job is not to sugarcoat it for them. Like I want them to see the real me and to know when I'm hurting, and to like what does it mean to embrace your emotions?
Exactly.
What does it mean to like embrace your fears and still come out of the on the other side?
Exactly.
That's what they need to see, not, you know, the Cinderella story.
And not a quick fix. One of our
Yeah.
previous guests put it in very beautiful words, that we are actually teaching our children the wrong things. So when the
Right.
child falls over and there is pain because it has scraped his knees, then one approach that many parents do is, oh, you poor soul. Here, come on, let's put something onto the phone and distract you. Or here, have a lolly. That will make it. So quick fix, quick, not dealing with the problem, not dealing with the pain, not sitting there with the child and say, oh yes, let's wait a moment. It will get better. The burning will go. Trust me. Come on, I'll sit with you here. No, we don't do that. We do the quick fix. We teach them from such an early stage. Here, have a sugar fix. Have a quick high, the dopamine high from the sugar. Yeah. See, a high is good. And you're surprised when they're 15 and they're going for the quick high of meth or of cannabis or of alcohol. Oh my God, we were such good parents. Well, actually, so I actually like the way you're describing that. There is so much that we as parents can learn, and by just holding the mirror in front of our face and hopefully listening to discussions like this here, where we as parents have learned lessons that may very well be worthwhile for other parents to learn too.
Absolutely. And you know, one thing about like the quick fix too, it's all about like sometimes what makes the matter worse is when our kids fall down, or you know, and this doesn't have to be a parents kids relationship, because this also applies to leadership and you know, a position where you're being looked up at, and sometimes we say, oh, you'll be okay, or you're okay. It's like you don't get to validate my emotions, and just because, you know, and sometimes we are teaching them to brush it off. And so when they feel like, but why am I not feeling okay, you know, and that's when the substance starting to come in, right? Because we're like, there has to be something wrong with me, because you're telling me I'm going to be okay, but I'm not. Right.
Very good, very good.
Yeah, right.
No, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. The other thing I want to say to parents out there and leaders out there, I think we have established that to a certain degree we can intermingle the two.
Absolutely.
Because bottom line is, you said it yourself, you're supposed to be such a strong person as a mummy who knows everything, and yet there you are, full of doubt, full of negative emotions, full of these kind of things, which are the little voices in the background that tell you crap. So maybe by reading a book such as yours to your children is actually a beautiful way of holding a mirror in front of our own face and actually say, maybe she has got something there. Maybe Felicia is onto something here. Both in our world as leaders, in our world as parents, in any kind of role where people look up to you. This can be a very lonesome place to be, and sometimes you think that the sun will not come up again, and sometimes it can be so doubtful, so frustrating, so helpless and hopeless. That feeling is there. I've been there. Felicia, you have been there. This is the night can be very dark, and is darkest. It is darkest at just before the sun comes back up. So sometimes we just have to push that a little bit more through. And reading children's books like such as this to the children hopefully gives a little bit of hope to those people who read them out loud. So that's good.
Right. Yeah, and you know, going back to try not to fix kids or anybody, you know, in this world. Actually, on the dedication page, I almost forgot this. The last sentence on this page, I almost did not include it, but that last sentence, and this is like after the illustrator actually had created the whole PDF form and everything. So it's like ready to be dropped on Amazon. And somehow, you know, again, like in the middle of the night, I have this epiphany. It's like, you cannot, I don't want people to read this book and think like, I gotta fix somebody, you know, like I gotta make somebody be happy, be like, you know, look up, look up, look up. And so I added this last sentence that says, and if you can't look up, I will sit with you in the dark, because there is so much power meeting people where they are, not where you want them to be, you know, and it's not trying to fix them, because I feel like sometimes I jump into conclusion, and when even like I have to back off sometimes, like when my kids telling me stuff that's going on with their day, I don't think they want me to fix the situations. Sometimes they just need like somebody who understood them and to be heard and to feel visible and to know that we care about them. And I think we should start from them, from that standpoint. You know, if they ask us later on, and anybody, you know, for solution, that's great. But we shouldn't like, okay, let's go with the solution and then skip that important part where they feel like they're, if you know, if they matter. I think that's like what's important, because I think when you hit the darkness, it's important for that person to know that they matter. That's the only thing that keeps them going and wait for the sun to come back. Right?
You're right, because it is such a lonesome feeling.
Right.
To have just that one person giving you that one text, hey, you're hanging in there, you're okay. The sheer fact that text has taken you 10 seconds to write, you have no idea what that impact can be. For all you know, you have just rescued a life, literally. You saved a life because you gave that person that glimmer of hope. You gave that person that sign that they are not alone out there.
Absolutely.
There is, even if you were on the other side of the world, a quick message on Facebook can be so powerful. Say, wow, you're not alone, and that's wonderful. Oh, wonderful, wonderful, Felicia.
Oh, thank you.
How are you translating this nowadays into the new you? Into what are you doing today? Because you have written this book. Right. And obviously right now with quarantine, it's a disaster. But where, if let's say we develop a vaccine and we say that a new normal will arrive start of 2021, where do you want to go? How do you want to develop yourself?
Oh my gosh, Stephen, there's so much I want to do. And I think this is like, before our podcast interview, I actually was in the middle of writing blog posts, and it's about how do you keep your passion alive? But my biggest question is, you know, when you're in the right path, because that fire just keeps getting bigger. Like you don't even have to, you know, it's almost like you are tapped into your life purpose. And it's just so much. And I think this is kind of what my next book, Gustav Adventures, that's launching on Blue Moon, is supposed to speak of, because it's like, you know, don't listen to what the world says you can or cannot do, right? But you know when you're in the right path, because you just felt so like it doesn't feel like work to me. You know, it felt like talking to you, this is like exciting, and writing blog posts is exciting. It shouldn't be like a checklist to me. And so to answer your question is, I want to keep writing more books, and ultimately, you know, I want to create more blog posts to help people kind of connect, you know, because my book has a lot of symbolism in it. It has a lot of metaphors that I want, you know, hopefully the parents or whoever needs to hear it can resonate with. So I kind of want to explain and build on the topic of self-love and knowing your worth from within, not so much about like the outside validation. So I want to start building more on the content, maybe hopefully partnering with the right people to create YouTube videos to help kids to understand and to be able to create a channel where people can seek non-judgment, no judgment community where they can feel visible and where they can feel understood, that they're not alone, to your point earlier. And hopefully that's kind of the beginning of how they transform their life. Because oftentimes, there's so much in this world that teach us practical tips on how to change our life, but everything begins within. So we need to look at this holistically. If you keep looking and pursuing everything else, that's all great. But if you don't have the right mentality within, it's almost like you have a brand new BMW but no fuel.
True.
It looks pretty, it can move maybe a few yards, but at some point it's going to run out of steam. And so my hope is to kind of build on that, more ways to create more positivity in this world, one thing at a time. And for Gustav Adventures, because I do have another travel company that I'm trying to build as well. And I'm working with World Wild Foundation to create a change in the climate and protecting seals. So Gustav is a seal, surprise. but it's all about protecting and being socially responsible and doing what we can. Granted that one can change the world, I think having that mentality, everybody can do their part to make a difference. And if the world is back open, someday I would love to have a retreat where people can heal together, be with one another, and support and build long-lasting friendship that can create and that ripple effects of kindness all around the world. That's my vision.
The positive butterfly effect. So true. But you can start, and it's beautiful to see your vision, which hopefully becomes a mission. And you hopefully can do little steps to get you there. That's right. I think, though, by just having that thought pattern, you will move, like it or not, a lumpet, you will move into that direction. And that's the same for you guys out there, those viewers, those listeners. Guys, this is who stops you right now to make a little step to make this world a little bit better. There is nothing stopping you than yourself. Right now is your time. There will never be a better time to take that step. And it doesn't need to be a huge bloody step. You're probably the first step you have already taken. You're listening to this podcast. You're watching this video. You are ready. You're ready to implement change. You're ready to change your life to the better. And by looking after yourself, by changing your life, you will therefore become a magnet to positivity. You will be, you're literally a magnet. Opportunities will arise that you had never even dreamed about. And they are because you have changed your attitude and you have changed your little actions, your little bit of change that over a few days, a few weeks leads to compound interest. And suddenly you are this new person that other people want to be around, that the right people want to be around, not the fake people, on the contrary, the more true self-loving you become, the less attractive you are for fake people. Exactly. Because they know damn well that you can look through their crap. So, you can't bullshit a bullshitter. Right. That's right. Exactly. Yeah. So no. So it is, you become your own center of gravity, where other people that are, I don't want to say worthy, that are at the same level of discovery, self-discovery and self-love, they migrate to you. And that's a damn good place to be. So, no,
Yes.
Felicia, I mean, you're there already, and it's just by you coming out here to my beautiful New Zealand, even if it is only in the way of an electronic pixel screen here.
Yes.
It is. You are here, and you are making an
Yeah.
impact. You by you writing your book and publishing it, you
Oh,
put a
thank
smile
you.
on maybe a child's face somewhere in Germany. And it
Hmm.
is,
Yeah.
we can make an impact through our little deeds far, far away. And you have no idea how big that impact can be. So,
Yes,
in,
absolutely.
indeed. So, what is your plan, guys out there? What is your plan? If you don't have one, well, okay. What's your dream? What would be really, really cool? So stop what you're doing and just take a bit of a time out, and some people do call it meditation, other people daydreaming, other people, it doesn't matter. Just stop your rat race for a moment, and open up to the universe, and or to God, or to whoever you think speaks through you, and just listen. And I find when I do that, it's a dangerous time because so many beautiful thoughts are coming in my head. And sometimes I mean, like, God, the last 2 months were brutal because I've met so many gorgeous people. I've started working with other authors. We are writing our own children's book, which is being released this week. So all these kind of things, I would have never dreamt about that even a year ago. But by becoming a positive person, a person who has been able to show his true colors, uh, including scars, including everything, that attracts the right
Mhm.
people. And suddenly there are opportunities there where sometimes you just actually have to say no, even if this is the most beautiful opportunity, but there's only so many hours in a day. So
Right.
it can be this bad. And is it really bad? It isn't. I love it. I love every second of it. You just, again, you need to protect yourself sometimes from yourself. Okay. So when you
Yeah.
come to that point in your life, come on, this is good.
Right.
There is nothing
Right.
wrong with that. So go out there and figure out what is it that you truly are destined to do. Find
Yes.
that out and take little steps in that direction. Blimey, you don't know what will hit you.
It's
So
it's
that's
it's so
brilliant.
true. Yeah.
Uh, so Blue Moon, when is Blue Moon?
Blue Moon, yes, it's only happening in 19 years. So it's going to be this October 31st. So
Ah,
it's going to be launching on, and I thought, initially it was supposed to be 2 weeks ago, but
yeah.
I thought it was purposeful to wait until the blue moon because blue moon is supposed to be once in a blue moon, like it
Yeah.
never happened. But I want
Ah,
people to know this is a homage to all those people who are making and doing the right thing every day and knowing that nothing is impossible when you
mm.
believe.
That's very true. Having said that, to actually also release your book on Halloween is an
Correct.
interesting.
Yes,
What
yes.
so is it
Correct.
scary? Is it a bit of a scary book, or has it only been
Oh,
scary for you
no.
to write it?
So, oh my gosh, no, it's not scary at all. It's actually about this little seal, and everybody underestimated him. So it's a little bit of it's actually a lot. I'll have a lot of the. I think the adults will appreciate this as well because it has a lot of the key manifestation and successful mindset um, tidbits within the book itself, so that my hope is to be able to use that book to help kind of open up conversation with your kids that sometimes success is about putting the dedication, putting the commitment out there, and
Mm.
day in and day out, and sometimes that's what true courage is all about. And I'm also putting in my love of travel. So there's some tidbits about without spoiling the beans here, but spilling the beans, but there's a lot of tidbits about Alaska and Hawaii in there as well. So it's
Nice.
supposed to be like fun, educating, and have a lot of fun activities that you guys can do together. And also there is a worksheet that I put on my website, CamsatC, that you can download for free. So like as a part of the books, you can build up further to do with your family.
Nice.
So
Nice.
yeah.
And that's what it's all about. Communication, connection.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. Oh, beautiful. I can't wait. So I'm going to be one of your first ones. You're going to launch it on Amazon?
I am going to launch it on Amazon. And
Perfect.
yes.
That's very good. I can't wait. Cool. So guys,
thank you.
Absolutely. So we're going to put the link in as soon as we have got it from Felicia. And so just click on the link. Otherwise, if people want to get hold of you and want to learn more about you, give us again your social media handles.
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at CamsatC2. CamsatC2 on Instagram. And I'm also on Facebook on CamsatC. But if you go to my website, camsatc.com, it's very consistent. But if you go there, you can find me, all the information in there. And Trip It Like and Trip It Like You Mean It is my travel side of things. So if you love to travel, I would love to connect with you. I love travelers. I think they have a beautiful mind.
Very true, very true. And normally when I say travelers here in this My Steps to Sobriety, I mean actually alcoholics. No, she means the real travelers. Okay.
Travelers.
Yeah, that's right. So
thank you for clarifying that.
That's right. So for a good recovery and rehab, go to Felicia. No.
Yes,
although
it's a different kind of traveler.
Absolutely. But you have to say also that I think the finding yourself, that journey to yourself, that is the true recovery. That is the true finding of meaning for your life. And that is a gorgeous thing. And that often happens with travel. And it often happens with travel to a resort or to a place, a retreat, maybe, shall I say. So who knows, in 5 years' time, we all meet together over a nice green tea, looking over a beautiful place, either in Alaska or Hawaii. I'm not fussed, really.
There you go.
With Gustav the seal next to us.
Right. Yeah.
Good. Oh, Felicia, it is so gorgeous to talk to you. Thank you so much for making this world a little bit of a better place with your book, and for bringing hope and sunshine to a rather uncertain world out there. And we need more people like you. So Felicia, thank you so much for the work you're doing, and thank you so much for coming onto my show.
Oh, thank you. It's my pleasure. It's always a great time to talk to people like you. So
and you guys out there, make the most of this beautiful day and go out there, make a change, and try to figure out, who do you want to be when you grow up? And it doesn't matter if you're 60. Who do you want to be when you grow up? And take little steps to get there. Look after yourself out there. Bye. Dream on, dream.